Hi guys, and welcome back to part 2 of the Hetzer project, as I've decided to call it. In the last one you saw that I got it made. I got the kit made. Now it's time to get it painted, weathered, the whole shebang. And I've decided to go for the chipping method, the hairspray chipping method on this one. If you remember, I originally I wouldn't say originally decided, because decided makes it permanent, but I'd originally planned to use the octopus pattern decals, loads of little decals, and since then I've changed my mind. Yes, I've changed my mind. I've decided to go on to the hairspray chipping technique, give it an ordinary nice ambush pattern camouflage, and then chip it away. Okay, or not necessarily an ambush pattern camouflage, but I'm going for the dark yellow and green stripy type thing camouflage. Okay, so that's the camouflage pattern I'm going with, and underneath that then I'm going to use the Hull Red. Okay, XF9 from Tamiya. Get the light out of that there. XF9 from Tamiya, Hull Red as the base colour. So I'm after giving it the base colour. There she is. Okay, all nice and base coloured. So what I'm going to do now is, I've been watching a couple of videos. Some people say you need it, some people you don't. But a lot of people that do the hairspray technique, they use, say, lacquer based paints as your undercoat, or your base coat that you're going to chip down to, and then use ordinary acrylic, water-based acrylic over it. But because I use Tamiya paints, and I don't want to sort of, when I start chipping, that I chip the whole lot away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to over the Hull Red, I'm going to give it reaching up for it there, I'm going to give it a glass coat, and that's what I use for the glass coat. Okay, Clad 2 Aqua Gloss. Okay, so I'm going to get it glass coated. After it's glass coated and it's dried, then I'm going to excuse me reaching again, I should have got all these ready. I should have. But then I'm going to give it a coat of hairspray. Now I went into the pawn shop today, because it's pointless using expensive hairspray, because you don't want to use it, and you don't want to use the Mrs.'s hairspray, or she'll give out to you for robbing her hairspray. So I've got a cheap but cheerful, extra firm hold, cheapest chips hairspray. That's all you want. It's the chemicals that are in hairspray. That's what you want. Okay, so I'm going to then give it a coat of that, then give it the camouflage pattern over that, and then start chipping it away. Okay, so phase 1 is done. I'm after giving it the Hull Red colour. Next step now is to get it glass coated. When that's all dry, then give it the hairspray. When that's dry, then give it the camouflage pattern. So bear with me. I'll get the glass coat and we'll have a look at them when the glass coat's on, and then we'll see about the hairspray. I'll show you how I put it on. There's two ways of putting it on. One is you can decant it, okay, and use your airbrush. Or two, you can actually use it straight from the can. But be careful if you're using it straight from the can. Don't go too close to it. I'm going to use it straight from the can. Okay, so I'll show you how to use it straight from the can. Okay, so bear with me. Next step now is to get it glass coated. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, so we're back again, and I've had to use this angle because what I'm about to do, I need to get the distance. I want to show you the kind of distance required for this. Okay, so we have it now with the Hull Red. Okay, Hull Red is XF9. Alright, XF9 Hull Red from Tamiya. Now I use mostly Tamiya paints. I do use other ones, but mostly Tamiya paints. Reason is they're easiest. I find them the easiest to just mix them straight away in the bottle. Literally when you get them, you top them up and you can spray away then, and you don't have to worry about how much of this to how much of that. No mixing or anything like that, it's all done for you. Okay, so the hull red is done and it's been gloss coated, right? Gloss coated. I use that, right? Which is Alclad 2 Aqua Gloss, the ALC 600 Aqua Gloss. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a layer of hairspray. The reason for the hairspray, whatever is in the hairspray, when it reacts with water, it'll sort of dissolve the paint, or something to the paint, and you can kind of chip it away and do all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm using this, right? Cheapest chips, pound shop or Euro store over here. The cheapest you can possibly buy, because you don't want it for your hair. I mean, I could do with it alright to get it nice and set and get it to stay like this, but I don't really need it. So hairspray, model. This is about the distance you want to hold it, okay? About 1.5 feet. Okay, so like that. Make sure all the areas I want to get. I've got the hairspray. Right. Nice and wet now with hairspray. So now we leave that down and leave it to dry. Leave it to fully dry. Okay. That was actually the second coat I gave it. I gave it a coat earlier on. But I was setting up the cameras and all that kind of stuff. I gave it a coat. That coat dried, so now this is the second coat. So it takes about 5 minutes to dry. Next step, I'm going to give it its base coat. And the base coat I'm using for this is dark yellow, XF60. Okay, XF60 dark yellow from Tamiya, right? XF60, brand new bottle. Then I'm going to give it stripe camo. There is a name for it, but I don't know what it is. It's just plain stripes, but thinner stripes. Not sort of thick bands, but nice thin stripes. Right. For that, I'm going to use this XF67 NATO green. And then get the detail painting done. Then I can start doing the weathering section, and I'll show you exactly what I'll be doing with the water. So the next time you'll see it, it will have the it'll be painted, as in the camouflage scheme will be down, all the detail painting will be done, and then we'll be moving on then to getting the chipping done from the hairspray. Right, now I will put on the decals as well. They will be going on before I do the chipping, because I want to, I don't want to start a chipping area and then stick a decal over it, so you're going to see that it's going over the chipping. But I'll show you what I'm going to do in areas where I want a bit of chipping on the decal. It's quite easy to do. It is quite easy to do, but you have to kind of have the decal on first before you can do it, obviously enough. So next step now for this is to get the camouflage scheme done, get the detail painting done, and then I'll be back to you. Okay? Okay, so here's our little Hetzer, all painted up and everything, all ready to go. Okay, as I say, I'm going to have to give it an easy enough camouflage pattern. Don't know what the pattern is called, but I call it the old spider camouflage. It is a camouflage that the Germans used, so whether it was used on the Hetzer or not, I do not know, and to be quite honest with you, I don't care. So, you know, the trolls can keep their comments to themselves. This is how I want it. Okay, so for this step we're doing the hairspray chipping. Now what I did was I base coated it, as in give it an undercoat. I used the hull red for that, which will imitate the the red oxide primer. Okay, over that then I give it 2 layers of cheap hairspray. On top of the hairspray then I'm after giving it the base coat, which is the dark yellow, and I use native green then for the camouflage pattern, then just the detail painting on it as well. So for this step what we need is a little container of water. Okay, a little container of water, and we also need a brush or two. Okay, as you can see from these, they're brushes that have well past their prime. Okay, you wouldn't go painting with them, so they're ideal for this. We also need a bit of kitchen paper, kitchen towel, okay, or tissue, whatever you want to use, it's up to you. Now, what we do is start off, okay, pick an area that you want to do your chipping on. I'm going to take this nice area here. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of chipping there. I'm going to show you this a little bit, then I'm just going to sort of turn off the camera and carry on then and get the rest of it chipped in different areas. But this is basically what you do for the hairspray chipping. Okay, find an area and you wet it. Now, this is the part you need patience of a saint for, as they say, and nice and slow. Don't try and scrape. Do not try and scrape, because you will go down to the base plastic if you scrape, and we don't want to get down to that. There are places that, you know, when you're going over edges and things, there is a very, very good chance that you'll go down to the original plastic on it. Okay, but don't worry about them. Any places that you do go down to the original plastic on, it's very easy to do a bit of touch-up painting. Okay, so what we're doing is we're just trying to activate the whatever it is that's in the hairspray underneath the paint. So we got to kind of get the paint all wet first. Now I use Tamiya paints. Tamiya paints are not water based, so they're actually slightly harder to do the hairspray chipping method on it. That doesn't mean you can't do them on it. It does work with the Tamiya paints. It just takes a little bit longer for the water to penetrate through the paints. Now, as you see, I never really sort of sealed in those decals, but I'm not really too worried about them because I do have spares if they don't go on right, if they kind of come off in this process, because I'm adding more water, and you know yourself, water gets under decals, it'll lift them if they're not sealed in. But I didn't want to give this a coat of dull coat or gloss coat even to seal in the decals, because it would just be an extra layer to try and bloody well remove when we're coming to this section here. Now, as you see, like I said, it does take a while, but when it starts to move, it'll start to move quite quickly. So you got to be careful, you got to watch what you're doing. Alright. Now, I did leave this dry for 2 days, unfortunately, because other bits and pieces are after getting in the way, so I haven't been sort of getting to the bench to do it. So hopefully I haven't waited too long. Although I remember there last year or the year before, when I did a bit of hairspray chipping before, I nearly kind of let the paint dry for almost a week. Now, it did take a time to start to activate it, but it did work, and just takes us time. And like I said, you need patience for a saint, and anybody that does watch the bum will know that I definitely have that from dealing with the abs, dealing with Abby. You want patience of a saint, wouldn't you? So, as you see, I think it's starting to do absolutely nothing. It'll get there, believe me, it will move it off. suppose it's good in the sense that I haven't sort of speeded up the tape and shown you sort of a quick method. Oh, this is how you start. Stop the tape, wait until it's kind of starts to chip, and then start it up again. This is just to show you that it does take a while for it to get into the paint. You're trying to, you're distressing the paint basically. So you're kind of literally scraping it away slowly using the water to kind of break it down. Now, this is where a bit of music comes in handy. I sit down and listen to music when I'm doing this. I can't do it on camera because I'd be sort of done for copyright and things. You can't listen to Pink Floyd while you're doing that. But I do. That's my music of choice when I'm doing a kind of a long section like this. Now, here we go. See it? It's just starting to lift here now in those two little spots. Each time I go off the thing there, I have the water just here. So I'm let's see if I can bring my camera back just a little bit. There we go. You can see what I'm up to. The decal is starting to disintegrate. Not too worried about it because if I can get a bit of lifting in there, I can kind of use a scalpel or a hobby knife and scrape a bit of the decal away, which will act as it's not just the rest of the paint that gets chipped. Where the insignia is, that'll also susceptible to getting chipped. Every part of it is getting chipped. Now, as you can see, it's starting to lighten off now, and you can see one or two little areas there where it's starting to lift off. Now, it's harder on a flat surface, obviously. There's the decal gone. I'll stick it back on after. Now, I want a little bit more lifting before I start to dry that off. Well, some people use a toothbrush, but personally I think a toothbrush is just a little bit too coarse. Now, it does do it quicker, obviously enough, because you got the coarser brush, whereas these are a reasonably soft brush. See there, it's starting to chip away now. More water, she says. Now, I must say that if you do your chipping sort of within a couple of hours your paint sort of drying, to me, paints that dry so quickly, and they also kind of harden, so it's harder to kind of get through them. But as you see, take your time and it will start to lift it. See there, it's lifting in places now. And these would be all little sort of marks from where the paint got scraped off going through bushes, because these are purely an ambush vehicle. you know, through rubble in houses, people clambering over it, small rounds clipping off it, where they're not actually kind of damaging the metal or anything like that, but they're just sort of chipping away the paint. Glancing blows from, you know, from rifle shot and things like that. Yeah, they're not going to get through, but they will chip away your paint. As you see now, that is all now starting to lift. Once you get it lifting in a couple of places, alright, then you move on to another section. Alright, once you have enough done. I mean, that's, if I can get that kind of effect all over, I'm very happy with that. So what you do then is, with your bit of tissue, dab. Don't scrape, dab. Dab, dabbity dab. The paint is actually, no, it's not really showing up in that, but it's actually, you can actually see it in the tissue there. The paint is slowly coming off there on the tissue. Alright? And the reason you dab as opposed to scrape is you don't want to go moving anymore. And by dabbing, now if you can see there, the effect you get from that. That's only just one little section. Right. And sometimes what happens is the water gets through and under the paint, and what will happen is it will start to kind of cause little bubbles, and when if you scrape, you'll take off a big chunk of paint, but if you dab, it'll look like natural flaking of the paint. Okay, so that's the hairspray chipping technique. I'm going to carry on now and get the rest of the vehicle chipped in that manner. You know, I like the way that's working out. It's working out nice. There's still a bit of moisture under there, which is what I want, because I still want it to kind of work away and cause that type of flaking look. And when you look closer at it, and that zooms in now better. Come on, maybe it's a bit too much light. There, you see it? That literally looks like natural paint chipping away. Now when you're going over edges, right, bring the light back into me there, and just before I kind of switch off the camera, see it? Because it was already wet now, and it's already started to activate. Peels off edges much easier than it does to areas that are flat. And again, dab, 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 don't wipe. So there we go, along your seams. So with that effect all over now, it should look quite nice. So I'm going to carry on, I'm going to get that done. We'll get back, we'll have a look at it then and see what it all turns out like. And I'll try and get the decals sorted this way. I'll try to do something with the decals. It's pity I'm not that good that I can make little stencils and paint them on, but I'm not at that stage yet. Eventually I will be. I'll get there. Okay, so I'll continue on the chipping. We'll come back and we'll have a look at that. Yeah, just straighten up that there. No, there we go. Okay, I'm literally just after finishing. And that took just over an hour. Okay, to get all that done. Well, when you think of it in the terms of modelling, just over an hour is very, very short indeed. Now, as I was saying about doing little bits of touch up, because you go down a bit too far. Down here I kind of went down to the plastic underneath it just a tad. Right, now I could touch up that, but believe it or not, I actually like that down there. Up on the top here, it turned out very, very nice. I got a kind of a, because you get different effects, and the great thing about this, yeah, you can go along with your brush and put in all these little, chipping. You can do it with a brush, you can do it with a sponge and things like that. But when you do it with the water and the hairspray, it's totally random, because it's not. You don't decide that little piece is going to come off there and not the piece beside it. When you put it on with a brush, you know exactly where you're going to put your chipping, so it's totally random. As I'm saying, yeah, up at the top here, if you can get into the top there. See that? The kind of the marbling effect. That is totally realistic. It really, really is. If any of you ever really seen, say, an old JCB or something like that, it's just been out and used and abused and gets dinted and banged and things like that, and then the weather gets in there and the heavy rain and the frost gets in under the paint and things like that, and that is literally what happens. You get that marbling kind of effect. You'll also get sort of little effects like that there, where it kind of starts to literally just chip away in chunks. But look at the marbling there. That's what I was saying about you get that effect by using the paper. No, you don't. The paper doesn't cause that effect, but what it does is you're not wiping the water away. You're kind of leaving it there, and what happens is then it continues to react with the paint, and you get that type of marbling effect up close. See that? That looks just totally natural. Okay, so there we are so far. And at a distance, it also looks good. Okay, looks natural, looks nicely done. So the next step now for this, I'm after putting on 2 new decals, about 3 new decals. I put one at the back as well. Next step now is what I'll do is I'll gloss coat that. Right, that will seal everything in. Then I'll go on. I'll continue on then with the weathering. I'll give it a wash. But I don't want to wash, I want to give it a very, very light black wash, okay? I just want to kind of get in around the areas and, make certain little things stand out. I won't use the word pop. I've told myself not to use the word pop. But just make it stand out a little bit better. So I want to use the wash, and I use an enamel wash because I like it. I'm kind of an old horse with new tricks and all that kind of thing. What works for me works, and I if that black wash works, why go off and try another different type of black wash? That one works for me, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to seal all that in, when that dries in and all that and everything else, and then give it a black wash. Then I'll go over it again and just see, it might need, say, little bits of extra chipping that I can apply by brush, right? Just to little areas along edges and things like that. Any areas that I'm not happy with, especially sort of here now on these, right, where they would have been broken off. They're the holders for the side skirts. Now, when you look at that up close, it's really, really nice. Now, the decals, they do have that horrible shine on them, but once you gloss coat everything and then dull coat after that, it takes away that shine, so I'm not worried about that. So I want to get, because of the fact that I'm going for little chipping areas and things like that, I want some rusty streaks and things. Okay, but you know, when you look at the side of that, forget about the decal now. Like I said, that's got to be, that'll all be sorted out by the gloss coat and the dull coat and all that. But that type of marbling effect that you can get with the see it there on the side, that is just totally natural. That looks fabulous. I mean, you won't get that no matter how you try with a brush. Okay, you will not get that with a brush. Now, I don't know whether you think so or not, but to me that looks so natural. It's fabulous. Okay, so that is the great thing about the hairspray chipping technique. So the next step for this now is going to get a gloss coated. I'm going to get a black wash on it. Come back then, we'll have a look at them with the black wash and we'll decide then what else we're going to do to it. Okay. Okay, now I'm after giving it a gloss coat. What I'm going to do next now is I'm going to do something that I have tried a couple of times before, not with much success, but you know, after watching a couple of more videos, I may not have been doing it correctly. I may not have been doing it too correctly, is right. So I'm going to give it another go and I'm give it another blast. And what I'm doing is I'm using oil colours, right? I've got yellow ochre, which is this one here, some burnt sienna, which is the second one, and a bit of burnt umber, which is the third one there, right? Now I squeeze them out onto a bit of cardboard. Apparently that soaks away a lot of the oils, which you don't really want. You don't want too much oil in it. Okay, so that's part one, the paints. Second part is you need some toothpicks or cocktail sticks, whatever you want to call them, whatever you use them for. I use them for picking my teeth after a good steak or something like that. And we need some white spirit. Right, I use this stuff, Artist's White Spirit. It is a little bit clearer than the ordinary white spirit, but it's a bit kinder, especially when you're onto kits. I used to use sort of the pound shop stuff, and it was just too harsh. It really was too harsh. So this time I'm going to use a bit of white spirit, and you also need a brush. Okay, so what you do is, well, what they say you do is, because I mean, I'm not doing this as a tutorial on how to do it. I've watched a number of them, so I'm just going to give it a go myself. Okay, so we get a bit of the paint on a stick. I'll just bring the camera back a little bit so we're catching, you know, what I'm doing. Alright, so we get a bit on a stick and we apply dots quite randomly around the vehicle. Now, I have been told not to go pick too big an area, so I'm kind of picking each sort of flat surface at a time. Alright, a bit more there along the top because we're going to be bringing it down. Alright, so that's the yellow ochre, a bit of burnt sienna, I don't know whether I'm doing too much or too little. Great thing about this experimenting, isn't it? Get to try out new things. That's what the whole purpose of this doing this kit was to try out stuff that I haven't done in a while, which was the hairspray chipping, and things that I have tried in the past, but not with much success. but decided, you know, I'm not going to give up on it. I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to keep trying until I get it. And a bit of the burnt umber. Now, I know that you don't do too many of the darker ones. Right, so you can see the dots there and that. Now, bit of white spirit. Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it? Why do I always do these things, especially on camera? So I'm actually showing everybody what I'm after doing. Look at what I'm after doing. I'm after destroying the bloody place. Look, John is after doing a boo-boo, and I'm after losing a lot of my lovely artist's white spirit as well. But I was just about to sort of soak it all up with a tissue, but I'll use it. Right, so you wet your brush with the stuff, you remove most of it, and you downward streaks. Okay. I wouldn't mind. It's the exact same pair of jeans that that I spilt a pile of pigment wash on there a couple of weeks ago, and I literally, just after getting the stains out, after about 5 or 6 washes, Mrs. M wasn't too pleased. But I think I should get a bib or an apron. What do you reckon, lads? A bib or an apron or something like that for me. Well, to me that is far too bloody well dark. Now, this is the stage where I kind of got to it before, right? And I said to myself, oh, that's too yellow, and I ended up wiping it all off. But I was told just to persist in doing it. And kind of let it dry in once I get to kind of that effect. So I'm going to leave that dry in, so I'm going to go to another section. Maybe not so much of the paint on each bit. Filtering or something, I think it's called. But we'll try. Never give up. Because I like the effect that it gives. And I've seen some people getting it, and it looks absolutely, you know, it looks just looks like natural fading and dirt and all that kind of stuff. You know, streaks of kind of rusty and It's one of those things, if it works, it works. And I'll be happy with it. And if it doesn't, you know, what have I lost? Nothing really. You know, it's the whole purpose of this kit was to experiment with different mediums and things. So I'll continue on and get the rest of it done and we'll have a look. But that's what I'm going for anyway. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get that whole dot filtering thing worked out. So I'm going to work away another little bit of it. We'll have a look at it when I've got the whole vehicle done. Then we're going to leave it dry. We'll see what that looks like. Okay. Okay, so I'm after doing that all over. Like I said, I don't know whether I'm after doing it right or wrong, but I can see streaks in it anyway from the different colours and things. So hopefully it'll kind of look like rust streaks and dirt washing down and all that good stuff that we're looking for. It did completely change the colour of it. As you can see, it's gone quite orangey. And the yellow's gone quite basically it did change the colour of it. Whether that's for the good or the bad, I do not know. But like I said, it was an experiment. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I got to leave it dry, because obviously, you know what I mean, wet paint is always darker than what it will dry out, and especially with oil paints. I know oil paints are definitely they dry out a lot lighter than what we have here. So all I can do is just leave it dry now for a while. I think a day or two. We'll see what that looks like. You know, I mean, it's got to get a black wash, and pin washes and all that yet as well. So it might tone it all back down again. We'll see. Hopefully, I mean, I don't have any puddles anyway. It's generally kind of the same all over. So I don't have areas that I missed. I don't have areas that I've done heavier than any of the rest. I am getting a bit of that streaking look to it, so we'll see what it looks like when it dries out. That's all I can do really, isn't it? So I'll give it a day or two. Come back to you then and we'll see what it looks like. Okay. Okay, so now it's dry, and yeah, well, it's okay, not too bad. After getting kind of some bit of streaking effects in there, it did, you know, it changed the colour of it for definite. It's definitely a more of I don't know, what do you call it? I mean, when you consider there's the original colour down there, right? That's the original dark yellow straight out of the bottle, and that's what it's after turning out as. Still in all that, it actually looks quite well. So I'm going to give it, like I said, a very, very light black wash. We'll see how that goes on it. Might make some of these little bits and pieces stick out a bit. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes anyway. You know what I mean? Definitely on the wheels and things like that. What I'll do is I'll lay it on its side, prop it there, lay down the wash, wait until it kind of dries a bit so it goes in. It doesn't have that you know, all sort of pooling down the bottom of it. That's a mistake I have made in the past when I put on wash on wheels, not to have it flat. Handy little tip for you there, you know, because if you do, you know, if you put on your wash and leave it flat, what happens is it pools down the bottom of the wheel, so you end up with a sort of a nice dark section down here, and the top is all light. When you look at the whole thing, it just doesn't look right. Just doesn't look right. So next step now is to give it a black wash. We'll see what that looks like. You know, happy enough with that. I do like the colour. It is definitely you know, faded, and well, I wouldn't say faded. It's darker, so it's not really faded, but it's a more a matured look. a matured look. I also use some of the oils and a small bit of rust pigments there to work on the exhaust. That's looking a lot better as well. So we'll see what the black wash does to it. I did give it a little bit of kind of a pin wash there while I was waiting, and it's getting in there, it's doing the job, but an overall black wash will make it better. So I'm going to give it that and we'll see what it turns out like at that. Okay. Okay, so here we have it. I'm calling this one done. About as much as I can do to it without going overboard. I don't want to go too overboard. And it's very easy, as you know yourself, it's very easy to kind of overdo it and then you'll end up ruining it. What I'm after doing to it, since I'm after giving it black wash, I'm after working a little bit more on some better streaking, removed the bad streaking. If we can get it in there we can see. Okay, a bit better. I'm happy enough with that. This side I'm really happy with. Okay, and if you look here on the wheels, it was just something I tried out. I tried some mud pigments, and I don't have pigment fixer, which I kind of silly in the fact that I haven't got pigment fixer. I only have a small few pigments anyway, and it was only kind of a little set, but I didn't get pigment fixer. And I noticed that when you use the pigments without the fixer, the minute you rub them, it comes off in your hand. So I tried an experiment where I mixed a bit of flat clear with pigments. I made a kind of a paste with that, and I kind of used the mud from that on the wheels. Now, it kind of did the job, you know what I mean? Like I did sort of mud here, splashed up on the sides there, you know, a bit there in the front. I did some of the tracks as well, and on the back there. So she's after going through mud, and just little splashes here and there. Yeah, it was okay. It worked to, you know, to some degree. I suppose I could have used a bit more pigment in it, less of the clear. It kind of oops, we're getting all out of focus there, but yeah, it worked out okay. A little bit less of the clear would have made it a bit easier. It was too much of a paste. The only thing about it is once it went on, it's kind of permanently on. It dried very, very fast, and it's not rubbing off my fingers or anything else. So, you know, that side of the experiment worked, as in it doesn't come off. Needs a little bit more playing around to try and get it a little bit lighter. Whether I use less pigments or less of the clear, you know, to make it a bit more that you can, you know, once you sort of slather it on, you can kind of remove it a bit. But it dried so fast it was practically impossible to move off. So sort of it's either that or nothing with the way I went. But happy enough anyway. I'm really happy with the way the top turned out and the rust on that exhaust. Get a nice look at that there. That came out very nice. Really happy with the work on that. That chipping worked absolutely fabulous. It really, really did. I love that marbly effect that you get when you use the hairspray method. You know, if anybody's ever really seen old vehicles that are painted and kind of left out and abused and things like that, that is literally how the paint goes. It starts to kind of lift and flake, and the water gets in under there and rusts underneath and things like that. So really, really happy with that. Really, really happy with that. You could say it was a bit overdone. you know, for a working vehicle. Plus, you mean they came out so late in the war, and you mean their timeline for use was pretty short. Would they have got to that condition? Doubtful, very doubtful. But you'd never know. You'd never know. Like I said, it was an experiment just to see how getting different effects, heavily weathered effects, because I haven't done heavily weathered for quite some time. I've been sticking with light weathering, and some of them very, very little weathering at all, just a bit of a pin wash. Just purely I wanted them, you know, for standalone, when you're not actually using them in a diorama, when you're just sort of on your shelf. You don't really want them too weathered, but yeah, this one ends up quite nice. Really happy with that. So that's it, lads. There she is. Don't forget any comments you want to make on it, stick them in the comments box below. I'll be glad to read them, and any questions you want to ask me, I will gladly answer them. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, lads. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and if you have, thank you very, very, very much. Don't forget to go over and check out the Facebook page as well. If you want to be a member, just sort of apply, you know, the usual sort of Facebook ask to become a member. There's a couple of us now that can accept you. Okay, James, myself, and Don, I think. The three of us can accept you, so there's always somebody online, so you'll be accepted kind of straight away. And you can upload your own builds and things. That's the whole point of the page, for the non-professional modelers who don't actually have a modelling page of their own. Somewhere where they can share their stuff. They're not going to be kind of you know, putting their stuff up against top quality modelers and be ashamed of what they put up. I mean, I'd be ashamed to put that up with some of the top modelers out there. I'd be, you know, and I wouldn't share it on that, whereas I'm happy to share it on this page. You know, it's a learning curve for me. You know, I've learned to tone down a bit on certain things, especially when it comes to the oil filtering, the oil washes and things like that. A bit less on the yellow ochre. I think kind of made everything just a darker yellow than I had originally intended. But you know, like I said, it's all a learning curve. So I'm going to leave it at that, lads. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe, but don't forget, go out and buy yourself a kit, build it and enjoy it, and I'll catch you on the next one, lads. In the meantime, stay safe, enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you on the next one.